Hello everybody, it's Kara from Wild Book Garden, and today I'm here with my spoiler-free review for Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Lord by Celeste Connally. I did receive this arc in exchange for an honest review, and I'm also going to list content warnings for this book in the description box, so please check those out if you need them or would like them. And this is what I believe is going to be the first book in a planned series. I think it's called like the Lady Petra Inquires or something like that. I was also lucky enough to be part of the blog tour for revealing the cover for this one, and it is finally coming out very soon. It is going on sale on November 14th. I will link the info for the book down below as well. And as I said, I did receive this copy in exchange for an honest review. And it is a historical mystery. We are following our main character, Lady Petra Forsyth, and she and her fiance are very much in love, but then there's a tragic accident and he is killed. So she has lost, the love of her life, and after her mourning is over, she kind of decides, like, why go through the whole marriage mart thing again anyway? She has her own inheritance that has been settled on her, like she's independently wealthy, and so she's basically going to do what she wants and not worry too much about what society says because she has the resources to do that. And she's pretty happy with that life that she's chosen. It is a little shocking to some people, but she's kind of getting away with it because she is, a lady and she is wealthy and she has some like good connections and everything. She is unhappy though because her and her childhood friend Duncan have had kind of a falling out a few years ago and haven't spoken since. And they used to be incredibly close, like absolute best friends. And so it's really hard on her that she has lost this friendship. And then she hears some ballroom gossip that suggests a friend of hers has died of melancholia, just very suddenly. And Petra starts thinking that some things don't sound quite right about this, and so she starts investigating, because it seems like this is not the first woman of her acquaintance who has suddenly died or suddenly vanished, and Petra is becoming more and more determined to figure out what's going on and more afraid for her friend and for these other women, hoping that she can maybe still save them. And it does get pretty dark. It ends up becoming very dangerous for her as well, because it seems like some of the people in her own life are trying to get rid of her. So as far as my thoughts and my review, I would not call this a historical romance. I would call this a historical mystery that has a romantic subplot, but that romance doesn't come in until pretty far into the book. So I feel like that takes a backseat to the mystery and the plot, which I actually liked. I think in this case that really worked. I found the mystery really engrossing, and I actually really liked that the mystery and the plot aspects got more page time than that romance. I feel like the mystery itself was very gripping and very well done, and I feel like there was a really good balance of, I don't know, kind of like revealing information or like building tension so that like your feeling of the stakes and of the tension and of the danger was not tied to you not knowing what was going on. Like, even as you started to catch on to things, I think that tension and that fear was done very well. There were a couple parts where I feel like I initially felt like the kind of scope of the problem or of the mystery didn't quite match the tone of the rest of the book, but I ended up feeling like that was actually done very well. So I feel like the book really like won me over to that. And one of the things that I love most about this book is the themes and the commentary. Like, the mystery in itself is very gripping, but I especially think it's really well done in connection with the themes and the ideas that this book is exploring, the treatment of women in different time periods and the way that men could have this kind of power over them. I think that was just very thoughtful, and the way that was combined with the mystery was very thoughtful. And I also really appreciate, I think it's really important that this book also addresses the treatment of people who did actually have some kind of mental illness or disability. I think it's really important that we see that addressed here, that the mistreatment that our characters end up finding or witnessing or experiencing, it's not just awful because these women have been wrongfully taken to these places. It is awful and wrong because it is wrong to treat anybody this way, even if somebody does need medical care or, mental assistance. And I think that is really important. And I don't know, I'm trying to remember if other books that I have read that deal with these kinds of topics, I don't feel like all of them necessarily address that. But I'm really glad that this book did. I will say, as regards to the mystery, there was like a little bit near the end of the book that was kind of frustrating because it felt very out of character for Petra, our protagonist, to make the choices she did and to put herself in the situation she did without backup, basically. And it kind of felt like that was just there to get us to like the big dramatic like ending of the plot. But in general, I really liked the mystery. I thought it was really well done. And as for the characters, I feel like what really stood out for me with the characters was like the supporting cast. I absolutely loved so many of the side characters. Like, I loved Annie, who is Petra's maid. There's a housekeeper who I absolutely adore. I love the way that she was incorporated into the story and the way she was portrayed. I like Teddy. Like, he's, I think, a much better done version of the like charming scamp. Like, he lives on the streets and he ends up providing information and help to Petra. And I feel like he's a much more convincing and well done and less annoying version of that character than I sometimes see. And like, the female friendship in this book is absolutely chef's kiss, so good. You guys know that that is something that's really important to me in books, is female friendship, like seeing women get along with each other and support each other. Not that every female character has to be a good person or has to like be friends with every other female character, but I feel like there is a very clear difference in, you know, women are very complex, just like everybody is, and some women don't get along, versus like, you know, the not like other girls thing. And this book did not fall into that trap at all. I really, really love that. Like, I love the friendships between women here. I love how much Petra has that support system. I actually, like I mentioned earlier, I wish she would have relied on that support system perhaps a little more strongly near the end of the book, but I just think that was beautifully conveyed in this book. Like, the women who were standing up for each other and supporting each other in different ways, like, it really, really was beautiful. And that was one of the things that I loved most about like the characters of this book. As for our main characters, well, Petra is the main character, and then Duncan is kind of the main, I guess, supporting character. I liked them, but I liked them better separately. I warmed up to their interactions later on in the book, but I feel like a lot of their choices and behavior when it was like regarding each other, it kind of like annoyed me. So I found them more likable and engaging characters when they were not together, which is not really what you want in this kind of book. But I enjoyed so many things about this book that like that didn't really detract for me. So let's go ahead and get into the romance. As I said, it did win me over more near the end, but it definitely wasn't my favorite part of the book. I was actually really glad that we focused so much on the mystery, because the romance wasn't my favorite thing. Although I will say that I really like the way it handled some of the tropes, even ones that are not usually something I enjoy. I think that that was done really well, and I do think that some of their scenes and interactions near the end of the book were a lot better, or a lot more enjoyable for me. But for me personally, the romance wasn't like a standout element of this book, which is fine, because I don't think that this book is primarily a romance, like I said at the beginning. Another thing I think is really interesting with the romance in this book is kind of where it sits in terms of like the level of steam, or like how explicit it gets, because I feel like, I don't know, it seems to me at least like there's a lot of romances at both ends of the spectrum. Like, there's a lot of like proper romances, and there's a lot of like full steam historical romances. And I have enjoyed books in both those categories, but this one is kind of in a middle ground, and I think it's kind of cool that we are starting to see a few more of those, because it is like closed door. There's not any on-page sex scenes, but that is a part of the story. I don't think you need to have those scenes for it to be an enjoyable romance or a worthwhile like book or anything. But I do think it's interesting to note where this book falls on that scale. And then finally, as far as like the writing and the scenery or the setting overall, I think that this was a really well done historical fiction. I feel like the writing was good, and it wasn't stilted, and it also wasn't distractingly modern. I feel like it was a really good middle ground. I also feel like the author did a good job of kind of balancing the historical with the fiction part. It felt pretty effortless, and I also really love that we have a diverse cast of characters here. Not necessarily like the main characters that we're following, but like their friends and acquaintances, and just like hearing about people existing in the world who are different from each other. And people sometimes try to like pull the historical accuracy card, which there's like multiple problems with that, but just addressing it kind of on a surface level, it is historically accurate to acknowledge that there have always been different kinds of people. I mean, even in much more homogenous societies, like there are going to be, especially like in big cities, there are going to be a variety of people, and we have like evidence of there being different people from different groups for, you know, as long as there have been people. So I just wanted to mention that, like, that's not like a huge element of the story, but it felt very organically worked into the story, which is something I really liked. So anyway, I really enjoyed this. I gave Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Lord 4 stars. Really interested to see where future books go. Despite the fact that the romance itself wasn't like my favorite part of the book, I ended up really liking this, and especially like the themes and the plot and how all of that came together. And again, just like the female friendship was so good. Like, there was one of the kind of main friend characters who I found a little bit over the top, but like it didn't even matter in comparison to how much I loved the like the portrayal of different women and like all of them like working together and being friends. Like, my slight annoyance with one of the characters just paled in comparison to all of that. So I personally really enjoyed this. Let me know if you guys are interested in reading it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you soon with another video, and I hope you love the next book you read. Bye!